Make sure we're live. Check Facebook.
We good?
Nah, it's doing that weird thing now.
Nah.
It's showing up on the page. Like, it says we're live, but it's not showing up when I go to our page. I don't know why Facebook does this, bro. So annoying. Here we are. I think it might have just been a little buffer in the system, but before it actually was an issue. So,
All right, so we're live.
Dante, do the pleasures.
All right, and welcome back again to the Paisan Sports podcast. Dante DePlacido, presented by Elevation 528 Sports. Dante DePlacido, joined as always by Zach Deal of What's the Deal Sports. So I've got to ask, what's the deal with GTA 6 constantly being pushed back? Now it's May 26th, and the best part about all of it is now people are alluding to the fact that Joel Embiid has the chance to do something very funny, which is make the conference finals next year. So people can say we have Joel Embiid in the conference finals before GTA 6. What's the deal with that?
Yeah, pushing it back kind of sounds like trying to set up a podcast with you, Dante, honestly. I just had to throw a little shot in there. But
There we go.
yeah, I saw the timeline. I don't know if you saw this on social media. You might have saw like a variation of it. You might not have saw this exact post, but someone went through like the sports timeline of what's happened since the last GTA 5 release, the latest version of GTA. Adrian Peterson had just become like MVP of the NFL 2012, so that's how far that dates back to. There was a couple other ridiculous ones, but I actually forget them. Adrian Peterson's actually my favorite football player of all time. So that's why I remembered that specific one. But I also saw a list of Adrian Peterson. Let me see. I can actually pull it up because someone commented on it. But real quickly, we'll start off the podcast. We'll have a little fun here. Oh, no way. Someone deleted it. I think they just look stupid. There was a post. I think it was LaDainian Tomlinson, Saquon, Adrian Peterson, and someone else. And there was a couple people that commented, like, who would you take out of this picture? And a couple people commented Adrian Peterson. You should have saw the comments from people reacting to like them saying Adrian Peterson shouldn't be in the picture. I just thought it was pretty ridiculous. Like, as good as Saquon is now, like growing up, like what made me love football and just the running back position in general. Not only my dad was like a triple option football coach, but like guys like Adrian Peterson just like absolutely running through people, juking people out, running through them, running past them. For him to come off that ACL and MCL, I mean, think about like how we would react to like. I mean, I guess it's not the fairest comparison because like Derrick Henry's like 31, but like if Derrick Henry like earlier in his career blew his knee out, we wouldn't expect him to come back to like form and like rush for over 2,000 yards. You know what I mean? Which is just crazy and ridiculous. But yeah, not to get sidetracked, but get back to GTA. Are you a GTA guy? Do you play GTA personally?
I don't play it currently. Like I'm a big GTA guy.
No, I'm saying like when it releases, obviously, like you're not playing
because there's still people out there who still play GTA 5 online. I haven't played GTA.
For one, it's literally you have to have like a full like terabyte ready to go on your Xbox to even have it on your Xbox because it's so many gigabytes.
Warzone is taking up all of my
like if
Xbox
you have
say
you have downloaded Call of Duty with like all the zombies and everything for that with Warzone, NBA 2K with the whole park and everything, and then GTA, like we're talking like 2 terabytes there.
Yeah. So no, I'm a big GTA guy in terms of like if a new GTA game is coming out, I'm extremely hyped for it. I remember when GTA 5 came out, and I remember just being in school that entire day, just thinking about getting home and finally firing it up. This time it's even crazier because it's a 13-year wait, which is just insane. I remember waiting 6 years for the next Mafia game to come out, and I thought that was an eternity, not 13 freaking years. But I mean, the game looks phenomenal, and I'm hyped for it because
Yeah,
after
that's
they
the thing
announced it
about
got
like
pushed
the
back,
wait.
they released the second trailer, and it looks phenomenal.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. Like, I don't know if I can justify a 13-year wait, but GTA is always as advertised, and I mean, you can pretty much do anything. But I like back in the day when I like used to play it, when you used to feel like you would get out your I don't know what you would even call it, bad vibes as a kid or whatever, just freestyling around, just doing crazy stuff, just being a complete maniac around the entire city. But actually now, as I've grown older, when I do play GTA, I like all the interactive stuff that you can do online with people and actually doing missions and stuff and playing the games instead of just going around and just causing and just being an absolute menace to society.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. That's kind of how I've always been with GTA. I even remember in GTA 5 waiting forever for them to release heists online. Heists have been around what feels like since the beginning of
Yeah.
GTA 5 online, but there was a large period of time where like people were impatiently waiting for heists to drop, and then it was like an extra 12 years for GTA 6.
You know
Um
what's actually funny is I'm not like I was never really into like big into watching people play video games on streams. I don't really watch streams like at all. I listen to podcasts more than like I watch like a live stream of like a stream or anything like that. I feel like that's something that's like maybe like 4 to 3 years younger than us. Like that's their generation. But I feel like the best content that I've seen like on video games of like streaming is like the role playing GTA videos that I see. They're actually like really funny when someone rolls up to
I think
somebody.
they're funny, but then like at the same time, it's like you're telling me this guy logs, like somebody they encounter. You're telling me this guy gets home, logs into GTA to play role play, and then just spends 4 hours behind the counter of a fake convenience store. It's like what it's like it seems cool to like watch, but then it's like, what are you doing with your life, man? You're just
I
pretending
know that is crazy.
to
I'm talking
be
more so about like the
to be a
I
cashier in a GTA server. You're clocking in real hours on this
yeah, that's crazy work. What
as if
like
you're
for
actually doing a shift. What are you doing?
yeah, that's anytime that I've ever played a video game and it's gotten way too invested to where like I have to like work a job inside the video game to like gain like virtual currency for the video game to use inside. Like I used to play um it's different, but I used to play Madden Ultimate Team and like you can't like play people online without spending money on that game. And then it's just
Oh
like
yeah, it's
I'm
ridiculous. I
paying
stopped
for
playing it for that reason.
I'm paying to like use the video game players, like you know what I mean? Why don't I just go into franchise mode and like go draft somebody for free and then try and like build them up to be
Yeah,
a person?
I twice in my life have I fully invested time and resources into a Madden Ultimate Team, like with two different Maddens. I think maybe the first one might have been like Madden 16, and the other one might have been like, I don't know, like 5 years ago or so. And both times I did that, I ended up spending way too much money. Just anytime I got like a good bit of cash, I'd be like, all right, time to spend it on my Ultimate Team now.
Yeah.
So
I
it was
haven't really
bad.
done that too much personally. I've definitely put money in, but like just I kind of really slow myself. But I would play on like a squad with two of my friends all the time. And it was a couple other people that we do it, but two of my friends specifically, and like they would be spending hundreds of bucks on bundles like every single time like new players would come out. And like in the beginning of the game, like the best player in Ultimate Team is like an 83 overall, and then you're like that person goes for like 150 real dollars to use in the game when you first get off the bat. So that's pretty crazy. But enough of the video game talk. Real quickly, one last video game question: best video game of all time.
Well, I can tell you my personal favorite video game of all time is Mafia 2. I think the best online video game of all time, in my opinion, a very underrated choice. I got to go Battlefield 3. That game was out of this world. But in terms of what the popular choice might be and what was just a insanely good quality video game, I'm going to go The Last of Us.
Wow, no love to Mario at all. I mean, I feel like it's consensuously between Mario 64 on Nintendo 64 and Super Smash Bros. Melee.
I mean, like if you like take into effect like the impact it had, while it was at its peak, like that's a good argument. But if like you took is somebody if from another planet who's never played a video game before, and you presented them with, Mario or The Last of Us, and you give them the option which game you want to play, they're gonna play The Last of Us. It's like
Man, they're not playing The Last of Us over Super Smash Bros. Melee, bro. That's like the most popular. That goes for $150 brand new still, and it released in like 2003.
let's not get caught up arguing video games here.
I
Let's
know, but
talk
I just
fight-ins. Let's talk fight-ins.
all right. Well, what do you? Who was it? Well, this is actually a good segue. Was it Carlos Santana that was mad about everyone playing Fortnite in the locker room in like 2019 or
I
2020?
think
Was
it
that
might have
him?
been Santana. Yeah. I
Yeah,
forgot all about that. That
I
was
did
when
too
like
until you
Fortnite
brought
was
that up,
new
and then
and everyone was playing it. And then it got to a point where it was only like kids and teenagers, and now those teenagers are now adults. So now it's like the younger, like people in their early 20s are the ones playing Fortnite now, which is kind of funny. It's
I
kind
know.
of funny.
I used to get. I like played it when it first came out. I used to get hype on it, but like I try and like relive the glory days like every so often. And it just doesn't hit the same. But talking about hitting the Phillies, we got some guys performing. We got a guy that we have to congratulate on the podcast. I don't know if we've talked about it. I don't know if we brought it up in a couple weeks because it kind of just is something that I don't even know if you would say sweep under the rug. It's just like a known thing, and we didn't know when it was actually going to happen. But Alec Bohm, opposite field home run. I think all the home runs that the Phillies hit versus the Rays on Tuesday, which was yesterday, were opposite field, which was interesting. Minor league ballpark that has pretty much the same dimensions as the Yankees major league ballpark, because that is their minor league stadium. And yeah, I kind of expected it. Not that Alec Bohm was going to go deep, but I thought there would be a chance since he's in that ballpark. And it was just good to see for him to finally get a swing like that. And I feel like it actually boasts more confidence for him that he went opposite field, because it feels like a harder home run to hit.
Yeah. But the Statcast data on that home run, it would have cleared the fence in 7 out of 30 ballparks. So, I mean, he definitely had some help with the quality of ballpark, but it's an
Did you see
opposite
the home
field.
run that Did you see the home run that Matt Olson hit the other day?
No, but the home run that Zach Wheeler gave up last night, that one would have been a home run in that ballpark and only that ballpark. That would not have been a home run in literally any other ballpark. So
All right,
Wheeler kind of got screwed on that one.
I'll answer to that, but I bet on the Braves. I think it was Monday, or it was either the weekend. I bet on baseball every day, so it kind of jogs my memory. But Matt Olson hit a home run. It went like, I would say, halfway between the over the fence and third base, so like right in between that area, and like right towards the foul line. And I forget who they were playing, but somebody was like in their 4th career major league game and ran full speed trying to catch the ball and ran into the fence, or ran into the wall in left field, and just was out cold. Not
Oh
out
yeah, I
cold.
saw that. I did see
And Matt
that.
Olson hit a home run, but like he hesitated to go around the bases because he felt bad, but it was an inside the park home run.
Yeah,
And
I
I bet on
saw
the Braves.
that. And then also something I would like to bring up while we're also talking about Phillies. How about that catch by Johan Rojas the other day? That was incredible. That was
Yeah, it
like
was.
Aaron Rowan-esque.
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous. I mean, he crashed into. I mean, I hate making the comparison to Aaron Rowan, because we'll never see something like Aaron Rowan like that again. That Aaron Rowan, I don't even know what I would compare that to. That was just like shocking.
I still remember watching that play live. I was watching that game with my father, and I remember watching that play live. I'll never forget it.
I mean, the only thing that would come close to that, it's like such a minor play, but it could have been so disastrous. I think it was either last year or the year before. Remember when Bryce ran after that foul ball? I think it was last year, because he was playing first base. He ran after that foul ball in like the camera well and almost fell like completely into it.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that could have been like that 2.0. But yeah, Johan Rojas's defense has obviously kind of lacked in a little bit this year, but he still makes a spectacular plays. It kind of seems like he's getting caught up mentally a little bit on like the more routine plays, because he almost like believes in himself too much. But that specific play that you're talking about, the jump that he got on the ball, if you don't get a jump like that, like he looks like a defensive back in the NFL. He just turns, squares his hips, runs directly, and like the angle that he took and the momentum, I mean, he was obviously going to run into that wall, but he's fearless out there. And the speed, it's not only just the speed, because a lot of people would see that and be like, oh, he's so fast to be able to make that play, but it was also just the reaction time. Because if he was any step later than that, he wouldn't have been able to make that play.
Yeah, and Johan Rojas today is making his first start since May the 4th against the D-backs, which I think Johan has earned himself the right to be starting every day. This season he's batting 302, and I think you've made an excellent point about him as well. It's like people. First of all, it frustrates me the people that are saying like, "Oh, sit Johan Rojas because he stinks in the field," and meanwhile Brandon Marsh is still injured. And even if Marsh wasn't injured, everybody was complaining about how much Marsh stinks. And it's like he's batting 302, and you want to bench him. But the thing about his defense that I think you make a great point is he is extremely talented defensively. I think you make a great point. It's kind of just he gets in his head with the more routine plays, but like you can tell the capability is there. It's not like when you watch him in the outfield and he makes a mistake, you're like, this guy can't play center field. It's like this is a mistake he just made, but he's a very talented outfielder. So I mean, like I think when you think about it logically, the way I've been looking at it is you just wait for him to clean up those mistakes. There's a big difference from somebody who's super talented and has mistakes that need to be cleaned up than somebody who just doesn't have the talent and can't play the position.
Yeah, I don't think we even need to address him defensively. I just thought it was a little
Oh,
interesting.
there have been a lot of fans complaining about his defense.
I know, but we're talking about the drop off, I would say, and it's not even a drop off, but we're talking about the reason why it's talked about is because it's like went from like top 3 at the position in the league to like ranging around top 10ish, because of like a couple flare ups, but then you see the highlight reel and some of the plays that he does make, and you're like, wow, that's
And
just
he's banged 302. I
But
don't
at
think
the end of the
anybody.
day, with Johan Rojas, like I'm glad that he's performing well. I feel like he could hold a spot on this roster the long term as he maybe like I feel like Justin Crawford has just as much range, if not more, and it's just a better offensive player, so he's going to get the nod. I
Yeah,
don't
I
really see
mean, when
Justin Crawford.
Crawford's
I don't
ready to
really think
get
it makes
called
too much
up,
sense.
we'll see how it plays out from there. But as of right now, while Crawford is still in the minors and still down there developing, Johan Rojas should absolutely be the everyday center fielder.
I'm just talking about more so long term because that's probably
Yeah,
why it's like a weird situation because they have 2 spots they're trying to fill in the outfield for however long, and they have a couple prospects that could possibly fill those spots, but they also have guys on the roster right now that are relatively young themselves too. So I mean, Brandon Marsh is still young as well. He's like 26, 27. But Brandon Marsh, I feel like the way that it was proposed in the beginning of the season was they wanted him to be that everyday center fielder. So as well as Johan Rojas has performed of late, and it's there's a big justification to keep him in the lineup every day for what he provides defensively and what he's been doing offensively. I feel like the best case scenario, the way that Rob Thompson looks at it, as if he's going to give Brandon Marsh another opportunity and maybe he can make something of it, and then it just turns into a platoon. Because at the end of the day, Brandon Marsh could also play left field as well. But Max Kepler, I sent you that Instagram post.
well, yeah, that's what Marsh was originally doing here, was playing left field.
It's just because at the end of the day, it's like what I'm seeing in the NBA playoffs.
Oh wait,
Like the
no, he was
Thunder,
originally playing center. No, I'm tripping. Yeah, in 2022, he was our center fielder. Yeah, Schwarber was in
yeah, no,
left.
but he's
And then,
platooned a
but then
lot
the
at left
past
field.
2 years, he was out on left. Now he's back
Yeah,
in center. But
but
I
it's
mean,
also like the thing with Johan Rojas is like I see it in the NBA playoffs right now. Like it's crazy. Like the Thunder have had a phenomenal season. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is going to be the MVP. You can say this, that, the other. They have built a really good young team, but they're like making the Nuggets like plus 300 on the money line, plus 400, 3-time MVP Nikola Jokic. They're making him like these ridiculous numbers. And to me, it's just like when it comes crunch time in the playoffs, like Johan Rojas, I just don't. He's not going to
well,
be that.
we've only really seen. I mean, I don't think we've seen that big of a sample size from him
Yeah, but
in
you
the
know what? Also,
playoffs.
the other issue is you can't put him in the lineup if everybody else is going to be struggling too, because then that just makes it even worse. That's what I
Look,
see it as. That's what I think.
if the playoffs were to start today, Johan Rojas would be my starting center fielder. But another guy I did mention I wanted to talk about before we started the show is a guy who just reached with a base hit yet again, Alec Bohm, who has been hitting, I think, above 300 over the past 12 games. And that finally hit a home run last night, although we did talk about that already. But Alec Bohm is starting to hit the ball really well, and his average it's up to 240 now after that past base hit. It was at like 175 earlier in the season.
Yeah, and it was funny. Remember, I talked that smack on Rhys Hoskins a couple podcasts ago. He started going off like right after that. I called him like the worst player in the league. He like had his batting average like under 100 or something, and then I looked and he had like 3 straight double multi-hit games and like raised it all the way up to like the mid 200s.
Oh
So,
my god, he's at 266 right
yeah,
now.
I feel sorry. I was actually going to say 267 off the top of my head, but yeah, he proved
He
me. He's
really
not the
didn't.
worst player in the league, obviously, but
He's got 4 home runs.
but how like Alec
Moment.
Bohm, like how much how much is this production actually providing for the Phillies? Because like he doesn't even hit.
Well, they're winning games again right now.
I mean, like this is why he's so far down the lineup, though. Like the
Rojas, oh, that's a ground out.
the impact of his bat has like pushed him all the way down the
That
lineup.
could have been a Rojas just ground out, and what could have been a base hit with considering his speed. However, they were able to get the force out at second, so that's a bit unfortunate.
I feel like for Alec Bohm, the best thing for him to help out the Phillies is if he starts getting hot come playoff time and he's batting real deep into the order to where he's like your 8-hole hitter and he's producing in that 8-hole spot that gives you an extra little juice to your lineup. Because if that happens and you can start off with Stott, Trey Turner, Bryce, and Schwarber, and then have Castellanos, and that's your 1 through 5, and then you can maybe like get away with like Max Kepler being hot and cold every so often. JT, I mean, JT, man. JT is just JT, man.
He's starting to pick it up. He's starting to pick it
He's
up
starting to
again.
pick it up, but
A
the
little bit.
league leading double plays, he grounded into 2 double plays last night. It's just like he like half swung yesterday. He got a pitch right over the middle of the plate, and he like half swings at it and just chops it to the shortstop to get it.
I was unfortunately unable to catch most of the game last night,
That
so
was
I
like
didn't
right
see that.
before the Alec Bohm home run. So I was actually watching that while I was at the gym. But yeah, JT's actually leading the league in double plays hit into with 2 that he provided for last night. Still good behind the plate, but offensively, he's going to start creeping more and more towards the back of the lineup as well. So I feel like Kepler, would you agree Kepler's higher on the totem pole of the batting order? Like you would justify him being 6 over JT?
Oh, absolutely. Right now, I mean, I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Kepler.
Well,
Going
that's why
into
I
the
sent you that
season,
Instagram post, and MLB.com had him ranked. And I don't like put everything into this. It's like the PFF, the Pro Football Focus rankings with football. You can't put all your stock into it. But they had Max Kepler ranked as the 8th best left fielder currently in the MLB.
I could agree with that. He's playing really well this far. I saw those lists. I thought the final guy I wanted to talk about in the big leagues before I want to talk about a couple of different prospects here, but I thought they had for DHs. I thought they had Schwarber ranked too low. I mean, we're talking about a guy who has
Yeah, they
gotten
did.
on base every single game this year, leads the National League in home runs with I think 12 now. I did the math earlier today while I was at work. He's hitting home runs at an average of 10 at bats per home run, which is extraordinary. His on base percentage as a result of getting on base every single game this season is through the roof. He's having a phenomenal year. I think like I mean I say this unbiasedly, but like when you have a guy who's getting on base, with an on base percentage of above 400 and he's smashing home runs, leading the league, I feel like that would put you in MVP conversation. And they had him ranked
Well,
as like the
I'm very
6th
very
best
glad you brought that
DH.
up because I was actually going to ask you this question before you started talking. How many DHs have ever won MVP?
Well, I know Shohei, that's one. I would guess that maybe David Ortiz has won MVP at some point.
Show as the
Really?
only player in the history of baseball to win MVP as DH.
I mean, here's the thing. You know, for many years, we only had DHs in one league. You
Which
know,
is absolute bullshit. I don't even understand how that went on for
here's
that
the
long.
thing. Like, let's say hypothetically DHs had been a thing in the National League. I can almost guarantee Ryan Howard would have been a DH. He would have won MVP in '06. So there's one right there that I would think would be a DH MVP. If that was already a thing in the National League.
I mean, Pujols
Um,
played in the National League for however long too. You know what I mean? They had
yeah, he could have been.
Pujols.
He very well could have been a
Pujols
DH.
was like playing what, left field, third, and first.
Was he?
I'm pretty sure he was playing left field, first, and third.
Hmm.
Not like simultaneously, but in different stints of his career, he's played all three of those positions.
Oh, okay. I know, like towards the end of his career, he moved around a bit more. But
Oh,
I
I
thought he
actually
meant
didn't
like
see this one.
I thought he meant like during his prime.
No. I
Yeah.
just found the post that I sent you because I wanted to go back to references in a little bit. So they put out a new list of utility players, top 10 utility players.
Don't tell me
And
they don't even have Sosa in there.
no, he's number 9.
That's insane. That's crazy. He's batting 400. Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, you also got to make sure there's other guys performing in the league too, bro.
Yeah, I know, but I mean,
Judge is batting 400 too, right?
you're talking about utility players.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, if you look around, like, he's not the like, bro. Austin Hayes is
Yeah,
batting.
but we're talking about utility players, though, is what I'm saying.
Austin Hayes
Uh,
is almost batting 400.
I don't think is he being used as a utility player? Or is he every day?
He's like kind of like a platoon-esque like type
Hmm.
situation. But right fielder rankings. This is off Bleacher Report walk-off, so it's Bleacher Report's list. Joel Reuter looks like I don't know if he's responsible for every list. Yeah, it looks like he is. Right fielder, missing Nick Castellanos, which looking at this list, I feel like he could be over a couple of these guys, like Sal Frelick, who's having a good season for the Brewers. But I mean, I'll take Castellanos every day
It's
over it.
costly,
But
man.
the reason why I went back to this list was because shortstop Trey Turner's not even on the shortstop list,
I saw
which is
that. Yeah,
asininely absurd. And for
yeah.
everybody that like just like only scopes in and lenses in on his defense, like and just doesn't like pay attention to him having like what? How many 3-hit games does he already have this year? At least 3. And he has like multiple 4-hit games too.
He's batting 299 right now.
Yeah, and he was like really dry for like a week or two. Like we're talking like got maybe 2 hits in like a couple weeks ago. But yeah, I feel like Trey Turner is in that territory where he just is like the hate for Trey Turner is overwhelmingly just like over the
It's
top.
too much. And then
And I didn't know
like
it was national either, but it's starting to become national. Like people nationally are recognizing, like as the Phillies as a whole, when they struggle, they actually kind of uplift the Phillies. But the person that they point to is Trey Turner when things.
it's always Trey Turner. I think it has to do with the contract. I don't know, but anyway, I want to talk about before we stop talking Phillies here. I want to talk about a couple different prospects here. The first guy I want to talk about is a guy who has a 1.1 OPS right now in AAA. He's got 30 home runs. He's got 36 RBI. He's 26 years old. You know,
Wait, whoa! We're talking this season or combined in the career?
no, this season.
You said 30 home runs.
No, I said 10 home runs, 36 RBI.
You said 30 by accident. But I think you were just loading
Oh,
up the
well, what I
RBI.
meant to say was 10 home runs,
That's why I had to
36
stop you
RBI.
for a second. You said 30 home runs and 36 RBIs. I was like, what is he, Mike Trout playing minor league baseball? Like hitting
Yeah,
solo home
no.
runs?
So, of course, I'm talking about Otto Kemp, the star third baseman of the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, who's actually playing left field tonight. I mean, I think it's time to give this guy the call up. What the hell are you waiting for at this point?
And as we talked about pre-podcast, the Phillies are the only team in the MLB that has yet to bring up a prospect to the major leagues this season. So I think that's it's almost like before we kind of felt like, oh, maybe we're just like too hyper focused on the Phillies, and we're not looking around the league to see what other people are doing. But nah, this is actually it is an issue with how long they take to bring prospects up, and we're we like to get guys seasoned up a little bit, get them with some experience and everything. But there's other, Johan Rojas, he never even played AAA ball, and he was playing in the major leagues and then playing in the playoffs months after. So Orion Kirkring was probably the last guy that was brought up. That was a young guy to the team that has really made something. It's felt like Alec Bohm and Bryson Stott, they brought those two guys up, and then that was good enough, and then they just haven't really dipped back into the pool of prospects yet. So we've heard about these
And
for how many years
Otto
now.
Kemp has proven that he is ready. He is too good for AAA baseball right now. I think it would make sense to call him up, give him a couple starts, whether it's third base or left field or what have you, and see what he can do. Why not? Actually, what hand does he bat with?
Otto Kemp?
Right.
Isn't he?
Yeah. So they have him in left field today. He's a right-handed batter. So against lefties, you can try him out in place of Max Kepler.
Well, that's what they're platooning Max Kepler against lefties right now. So, and they're still doing.
By the way, speaking of against lefties, just to bring this up real quick, I saw the other day, this was shocking to me. JT Realmuto against left-handed pitchers this year is 1 for 31. You never really see right-handers struggle against lefties, and JT has been god-awful against lefties this season. But
yeah, he might be the biggest fluctuating hitter that we have on the team. Sometimes he's awesome hitting double. He's hitting extra base hits, and he's like a good base runner, so he can kind of stretch it a little bit. That was also another thing that a lot of people were not happy about. And Johan Rojas actually got benched pretty much for stretching that double into the triple a week ago. So that wasn't mentioned that we brought.
That was so stupid that they benched Rojas for that.
I don't know. I feel like
it was a dumb decision. It was a dumb decision.
Who's somebody that I defend? Who's somebody that I defend?
Hold on. I just want to say my thought about this real quick. It was a dumb decision. Yes, he was safe. It didn't end up affecting the game. To yell at him about it, I would understand. But to bench him and he's one of your best hitters so far this season, I think it was just stupid. It was stupid. But what were you about to say?
Who's somebody that I defend? Because you're getting into that territory where Johan Rojas, where it's getting, he
was safe.
Personal bodyguard.
He was safe. I should bench him. But no,
you got to make a statement. If you're going to make a statement, you're not going to do that to Bryce. You're not going to do. Trey Turner might cry and request a trade if you.
You have to make a statement. Okay, he shouldn't have went. He went. He was safe.
Castellanos,
they lost anyway. They lost either way. Who cares?
Castellanos might be the biggest name player that you could potentially do that to without repercussions of the locker room kind of explode. If you do that to Alec Bohm, he's asking for a trade next day. Bryson Stott probably be able to do it too, but you can't do it to Schwarber. Schwarber would just eat it on the chin and not say anything, but it would cause internal conflict, and he's in a contract year.
Stott, that's a fly out to center.
But prospect-wise, it just triggered my memory when we had needed a little pop in the bat when Bryce was hurt a couple years ago. Derek Hall, and he was an inconsistent guy, but he was a lefty, big pop bat, hit a couple home runs for us. And then I just found out he's not even with the Phillies anymore. He's not even in our organization. He's actually playing with the Pittsburgh Pirates for Indianapolis.
Yeah, I thought that was known information. But anyway, before we stop talking Titans, there's one more prospect I want to mention, just because he is to make his first AAA start tomorrow. A guy we expect to see in the majors at some point this year. Speaking of, the Phillies not calling anybody up thus far, that of course is Andrew Painter, a guy we've been waiting a long time for. He missed 2 seasons with injury, and now he's one step closer to the bigs. And I'm really excited to see what he's able to do in AAA tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm very excited about Andrew Painter.
You can keep talking.
Yeah, I'm excited about Andrew Painter. The thing about him is, we've been expecting him to come up to the majors for quite some time now, and it seems like the time's actually coming soon. He had that injury that he's coming off of, but we'll see. It's good to see him back pitching and actually ready to go because it seems like that's matching up with him actually getting
Oh,
in the major league
oh,
at one time.
oh!
You're like significantly behind. We're talking like 2 to 3 minutes behind.
Oh,
But
well, according to
um,
my phone, I am live, but a guy we were just defending has just homered to make it a 1-0 game. That's Trey Turner, baby.
that's the second of the year. The first one of the year was actually probably the biggest home run that the Phillies have hit the entire year, as in like crucial meaning wise, was that ninth inning home run for the first one of the year. But Trey's also got a beautiful swing when he actually gets it out of the park. But back to Andrew Painter. I'm really excited. I mean, Mick Abel's been the guy that's been talked about the longest of any like prospect of the
Oh my
pitching. He
God,
kind of fell off
dude.
a little bit.
We've
Mick
been
Abel
talking
actually
about
seems like
Mick Abel for half a
yeah, but it
decade
actually
now.
seems like he's actually kind of returning to form like a tad bit. Like he's actually, the talent's coming back and he's not lost like he was for a couple years, it seemed like. So let's bring up Mick Abel's stats. I mean,
Yeah,
because
I'm
Andrew
pulling
Painter,
out
we already
now.
know
You have
about.
me curious. He's actually pitching really well in AAA this year. Wow, he's got a 2.7 ERA through 7 starts, which is a far cry from his whopping 6.4 ERA last season in AAA. So, oh my God, he's still only 23? What
That's
the
why he's been.
hell?
That's why he's been talked about forever.
He's still only 23. I was expecting to see that he's 20. Okay, you know what? That he's actually
And
now
he's
turned
also
himself into a
isn't
promising.
Andrew Painter's over 6'5", isn't he?
Andrew Painter's like 6'7" or something
Yeah,
like
Mick
that.
Abel's 6'5". We got some big boys coming into the
Yeah,
leagues.
Painter's 6'7". Painter, how old's Painter? What is he, 21 now? No, now he's 22. That's the thing, dude. Like he was on pace to start pitching in the majors 2 years ago. He would have been a 20-year-old major leaguer.
I know it's crazy. I mean, pitchers really you don't really see pitchers coming up, but everyone's got their own timeline in the MLB. I mean, like Aaron Judge came up later than most prospects, and then look at how good he is at this current point in time.
Yeah, he
Um,
got called up when he was like what, like
you had
26?
the Manny Machados, the Bryce Harpers coming up at 19 years old. There's a couple guys now like Jackson Holiday, Jackson Churio for the Brewers. Jackson Holiday is actually playing really well.
Schwarber hits a base hit.
But prospect wise, like, are you in the territory of like some of these guys? Otto Kemp's now being talked about. Aiden Miller and Justin Crawford. Those are probably like the three hottest like positional prospects. And then we have Mick Abel, Andrew Painter. Who's that other pitcher? I forget his name. He just got hurt. And he's been pitching like crazy. Seth something.
I'm not even sure who you're referring to. I remember when Hans Kraus was a big
We have
prospect
a
of ours.
AAA pitcher. I
I know
completely
we
forget his
traded
name. He
him to
just got
LA.
hurt, and he's got like I don't think he's allowed a home run this year, or I don't think he's allowed a run this year for the Phillies.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I
And
forget
everybody
his
was getting
name.
hype, and like when we were like at the height of our bullpen issues not too long ago.
Also, I saw a report of a Phillies trade today. I saw this on Instagram, but the post was 6 days ago, and I hadn't even heard about it until today. But the Phillies had traded a reliever prospect for a 30-year-old AAA reliever who has a ERA in AAA this year of 1.47. So that is a guy that could potentially get called up for some bullpen help if they need it. But right now the bullpen's looking better. They mentioned on the broadcast like a week ago that they think the issue with Jordan Romano was he was tipping his pitches, and they think they've corrected that. Since then, he's made 2 appearances out of the bullpen, hasn't given up a run unless he appeared last night. Like I said, I wasn't able to catch the full game.
Who are you talking
Um,
about?
I'm talking about Jordan Romano, how they said they think the issue before was he was tipping his pitches, and they think they've corrected that since. And
Yeah, a lot of people have said that, but I've also heard a lot of like different weird, like conflicting things about he's just like kind of like weird, like really weird,
well,
like
listen, if
odd.
that is true, I mean, so far since
Like
they've
he's like doing
mentioned
like
that,
weird stuff
he's
in the
came
middle of
out
the
of the
game that like
bullpen twice. He hasn't given up a run, which for him, that's a
like people are
miracle.
talking about like they're like I'm listening to the radio. I'll be like driving back from the gym or something. I'll be listening to the radio and they're like, oh, it's like their fourth inning or something. Like, oh, uh, Jordan Romano's up and moving in the bullpen, but it doesn't look like he's coming into the game. Like he's just like he can't even sit still or something. Like there's just something weird going on with him. I've heard that happen like multiple times this year in different games. But it's
Mm.
interesting. I just pulled up the list of prospects by MLB.com for the Phillies, and for all that steam for Otto Kemp right now, where do you think he's ranked in the top 30 prospects for Phillies wise?
For Phillies wise, being that you're asking me that question, I'm gonna say sixth.
Times that by 4.
That's insane.
24th. 24th
Um,
prospect in the
yeah,
that means they must have a lot going on. So let's look at the guys in the range with him too. We had that Michael Mercado guy who's the right-handed pitcher, but everybody else that's in the range of him is not playing AAA, which means that those are like young guys that might actually have a lot of pop and juice talent-wise to them. Somebody that doesn't get talked about enough. And he's only playing single A, but he's so young. But a lot of diehards bring him up, but I guess it's because it's so young. He's so young, but everyone wants to talk about Rafael Marchand being the future catcher for the Phillies. But Eduardo Tate, 18 years old.
actually, you know what? I'm glad you just mentioned him. We actually talked about him last week on the podcast. When you had your buddy on, but I think that is like a very underrated Phillies prospect in my opinion. They
Left-handed.
have him
I
ranked
feel like there's
fourth
not.
right now.
I feel like it's kind of hard to come by with like we've seen catchers be switch hitters, but he's a left-handed catcher that obviously throws right, but he's a left-handed batting catcher, which I feel like is kind of rare nowadays.
Stubbs, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
stubby. But yeah, Eduardo Tate, he's only 18 years
You said
old.
the sixth prospect, you said who you thought was Otto Kemp. The sixth prospect's actually Dante, your boy, who they drafted this year. That kind of people were kind of like, oh,
Oh
why they
yeah,
draft?
Dante Nori. I forgot all about him. Wow. He's 20 years old. His MLB.
Gabriel Rincones is rounds out the top 10 for them. So they got some guys. They got that. Who was Seth Johnson? Who did they get? What was that trade? Wasn't that last year at the deadline?
Let me
That was
see.
from another organization. I forget who they traded for him.
Seth Johnson. How old is Sethy?
Oh,
Get
he
old.
was a part of the prospects they got from the Gregory Soto trade.
Hey, who knows? Maybe that can
Wait,
end
hold
up
on for a
being.
second. So you know how we talked about that Gregory Soto? We never really go down the prospects pipeline, so I feel like this is actually worth it to talk about. So
Mhm.
in the Gregory Soto trade, the Phillies got Seth Johnson and Moises Chash, if I said that correctly, Chash, like
Yeah,
Chacha.
they have him as their fifth prospect right now.
He's
Another
number
pitcher.
5, and then that other dude that I just mentioned, he is what 12th. So they
Yeah,
got 2 top 12 prospects for Gregory Soto back.
yeah, yeah. So that might end up being a pretty damn good trade. Seth right now in AAA, he's
He's got like a
made.
don't even look at it. You're gonna cry. You're gonna throw up. It's
Well,
one thing.
no, in AAA he has a 3.2 ERA. In the majors, last year he has a 34 ERA. It
34.
was it was one. He was the starting pitcher for that game. He ended up going 2 1/3, giving up 9 runs. That was probably, I don't even remember that, but that was probably when they kept experimenting with
Yeah, just speaking of
Hit
that now, I
Men.
just brought up I brought up Mercado's name before, acting like he hadn't already pitched for the Phillies last year.
Who?
Michael Mercado. I said his name, acting like I forgot, like I just
I
completely
didn't
blanked.
even hear you mention Michael Mercado, but I remember him from last year.
No, yeah, no, because he's ranked like right in front. He's 23 and Otto Kemp's 24. But yeah, they're like, oh, I mentioned him because I said in the 20s, like in the range of Otto Kemp, the only person that's also playing AAA is Michael Mercado, but he was also had already
Oh,
played in
okay,
the
yeah.
majors too.
Right
So
now, right now, this other guy, Moises Chus or whatever, however you say his name, he's in Reading right now. 4 starts, 3.9 ERA. Not bad.
21 years old too, so that's definitely good to see.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I like our pipeline of prospects at the moment. Actually, one more thing I want to do before we stop talking about the Phillies, and then we're probably gonna have to cut our other topics a bit short. But I do want to see MLB top prospects, and I want to see how much presence we have in the top 100
You
prospects
can
list.
already it's like literally a tab right next to it, so you can switch them. Andrew
Andrew
Painter,
Painter
5.
is 5th in the entire MLB.
Aidan Miller's the
Aiden
highest
Miller's
position player, 23.
23rd. What else we got? What else we
Justin
got?
Crawford, 58.
58. I mean, yeah, we got some good young prospects, man. And Eduardo Tate is 87. That's
Whoa.
surprising to
That
me.
Jackson Churio dude from the Brewers, he's got a brother that's like a year younger than him.
I didn't know that.
Jason Churio.
I've never heard that name before in my life.
I
So
mean,
wait,
a
who's
lot
the
of
number one prospect right now? Ramon Anthony. Interesting.
Oh yeah, he's
Andrew Painter, though, I'm pretty sure he was the number one prospect before he got hurt.
Kristen Campbell's playing in the majors
Oh yeah,
for
it says
for the
MLB.
Red
How
Sox
about
because
that?
what's his name just had that really bad injury. The second baseman, the young second baseman for the Red Sox, just like literally blew his leg out running out a first base play and like rolled his ankle so hard on the base itself. It was gross to watch, but
Well,
yeah,
anyway, it's now time for my meatball of the week. And my meatball of the week is yet another Yankees fan. I feel like this might be the third time a Yankees fan in the crowd has appeared as a meatball of the week on this podcast. But I'm not sure if you saw it. Somebody on the Yankees might have been, I don't think it was Judge. I forget who it was. Hit a home run. Yankees fan in the front row catches the home run ball. Actually, I had a baseball glove. And he starts celebrating the home run, and he doesn't realize he drops the ball,
yeah.
and it kind of rolls along the outfield wall. And a guy like 2 seats over, like quickly snatches it, puts it in his pocket, and then goes back to celebrating with everybody. And then the guy realizes his ball is gone. I don't know who's the meatball, the guy who lost track of the home run ball he caught. I mean, hold on to that thing with dear life. I mean, he didn't even like really try to secure it.
It
Or if
wasn't
the
even
meatball
it
is the
wasn't
guy
a
who
focus
stole it.
of the celebration. It like the ball, like usually it's like you get the ball and it's like hoisted up, like there's like that's
Yeah.
the whole ceremony of celebration. Like they weren't even celebrating the ball. It was like they're celebrating the home run and like he caught the ball, but like no one even checked where the ball was or anything after he originally had it in his
He
grasp.
kind of like caught it and then like I don't even know what he did, but it never seemed like he really secured the ball. He didn't have nearly as much focus on it as you need to in that situation. I mean,
I thought you were going with the fan. I don't know if you saw the video that he went to go throw the opposing team's home run back and then handed it to a Mets fan that was behind him before he threw it. That was the opposing team, and he gave it to like a fan of that. And I thought you were going to criticize him for doing that for a little kid. And I was like, yo, you're a little heartless out here. I don't know if you saw that video, but
listen, if I was at a Phillies game and the Mets hit a home run and I caught it and there was a little Mets fan behind me and I look back at him and he looks up at me with like a like a little face of like he wants the ball. I'd look at that kid and look up at me like I know he wants that ball, and I would tell him to go fuck himself, and I would throw it.
that's crazy work. That's crazy. I don't
A
condone
Mets
that
fan's a
behavior at
Mets
all.
fan. I don't care how old you are. You're a Mets fan. Fuck you.
Who's your favorite non-Philly of all time?
Alfonso Soriano's pretty up there.
So if you were at a Phillies game back in the day and Alfonso Soriano hit a home run in Citizens Bank Park, how would you feel? How would you react to that? And you caught the
I'd
ball.
throw it. I would throw it.
No, you won't.
Absolutely.
No,
I
you won't.
wouldn't. I wouldn't think twice about it. Not
I
even
was
moments of
I was at the
hesitation.
Eagles game back in the day. What 20? I think it was 2018. I was at the Eagles game. Adrian Peterson. We already talked about my favorite player of all time. I was a little salty when he signed with Washington. And actually stayed there for like 2 to 3 years and was pretty good. Had like 2,000-yard seasons with them. But I remember the date too. I think it was December 3rd. It was primetime football. It was like Monday or a Thursday night football game. Sunday night might have been. And Adrian Peterson versus the Eagles in Philly, 91-yard touchdown at the age of 35. And I'm sitting there like, I can't cheer right now, but this is my favorite player of all time in front of me. The first time and only time I ever got to see him play. And he's running for 91 yards in the middle of our defense as this like 33-year-old running back. So that was a crazy moment for me. But I didn't obviously.
That blew over the base hit there.
I've never
Anyway,
come close to catching a foul ball or anything like that. But the closest I got to, I had Jim Thome sign a baseball for me, who's my favorite baseball player of all time. I had him sign a baseball and give it to me. So that was a big
that's
moment
pretty
for me.
special. I have a autographed Mike Schmidt ball that was written out to my grandmother. It even has her name on it. And then I have a baseball signed by Tug McGraw that was given to my father, which he gave to me. And then I have do you remember the Atlantic City Surf?
Probably.
They were a minor league team in Atlantic City, and they used to hold a camp there every summer that I would go to, where it's like a baseball camp where you get to play on the field and such, and go into the dugout, and you would get to meet some of the players. And I was at one of the games. I used to go to those games all the time, and one of the pitchers saw me in the stands, and he recognized me from camp, and he tossed me the ball after the inning. So that was really cool. And the final ball that I have, I've never caught a foul ball. I've always wanted to catch a foul ball or a home run ball. I will never be satisfied in life until I do. But the final ball I have there's actually a really interesting story behind it. So my father, back in the mid 2000s, during the Utley Rollins era, he owned a mortgage company, and he had a receptionist who was a good-looking woman, as receptionists typically are. And she went to a Phillies game, and she was sitting like first base side, lower deck. And I forget which reliever it was. If you were to read me a list of Phillies relievers from that era, I would be able to pick him out. But I forget who it was. And he noticed her in the stands. He thought she was very good looking. So he put a piece of tape on the baseball, and he wrote his number on it, and he tossed the baseball to her. And she just took the number off the ball and was like, I don't need this anymore. I just want the number. And then just gave the ball to my dad at work the next day. And then he ended up giving it to me. So those are
the opposite.
Oh, watch! You just kept the baseball and threw out.
Yeah, and then I just thought about how stupid that would be. But yeah, that's crazy. But perfect segue for this, talking about Citizens Bank Park and reactions at Citizens Bank Park. The Sixers kind of subtly slid this in on us, changing the Wells Fargo Center's name, which will now be the Xfinity Mobile Arena, right?
Yeah, Xfinity Mobile Arena.
Which was interesting. I forget. I was watching a sport. It might have been the UFC. Let me see real quickly. I think it was the UFC. I was watching the recent UFC card, and I thought it was interesting. Let me just double check this information. Yeah. So the UFC card was in Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa, this past weekend at the Wells Fargo Arena.
That's funny. I didn't realize that. That same exact city also hosted I think Friday Night SmackDown, one of those WWE events. So I guess they got busy.
Wells Fargo Arena. That's funny because I saw that a couple days ago because I was looking at like the card and what time it started for the UFC because I watch it every week. I try to when I'm not doing anything. And I saw the name Wells Fargo Arena. I was like, oh, that's interesting. There's another Wells Fargo sponsorship of like a stadium or arena around here. And then I heard about the news days later that the Wells Fargo Center is no longer a thing. And I just thought that was ironic and funny. But specifically Wells Fargo, off the top of my head, I was actually going to do this so we didn't have to do this on the fly. But so when did it get named?
15 years ago is when it got named to the Wells Fargo
Yeah,
Center.
because it was the
Before that,
Wachovia.
it
Like
was the
in my
Wachovia Center.
timeline, it was always the Wachovia and then the Wells Fargo.
Before
Like,
that, it was the First Union Center, and then before that, I was too young to know what the hell it was called before First Union Center, and it was only something before First Union for like a year, I'm guessing, because I don't think there's a huge gap in
yeah, it
time
was.
between them moving out of the Spectrum and it being called the First Union Center.
Yeah, it was 2 years. It was the Core State Center. So,
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
right.
but I remember like my whole. It's going to be really weird, and it's like I'm going to keep saying it because I mean, Citizens Bank Park's been that pretty much forever. Like our timeline, the Citizens Bank Park has been that. The link has
The
replaced the
link
vet
the
for
whole
pretty much
time.
our entire fan base timeline, and then
Well,
obviously the Flyers and the
I'm glad you bring
Sixers
this
last
up.
name.
I'm glad you bring up the history of that arena and the names it's had, because I'm a little annoyed with everybody online being upset that it's not going to be called the Wells Fargo Center anymore. Like, for one, I don't think Wells Fargo Center is an iconic name. It never really had a nickname to it, like Citizens Bank Park, the Bank, or CBP, or Lincoln Financial Field, the Link. And Wells Fargo Center was its what, fourth name. That was its fourth name. Like come on, like let's not get out of hand here. And the thing with Citizens Bank Park and Lincoln Financial Field, those are the original names of those stadiums, and they've had those original names 20 plus years each. Those are iconic names. Those are names that they can never rename either of those stadiums. But the Wells Fargo Center, I was not emotionally attached to that name. I don't think anybody should have been. I don't think there's even a nickname you can come up with for the Xfinity Mobile Arena either. I don't, and this one's not going to be here to stay either, because they're going to build a new arena in 2031. So this name is only here temporarily for the next 6 years.
I don't
And
know.
then
It's going to be, but a lot of people made the comparison to how Xfinity Live, Xfinity Mobile, how it kind of goes hand in hand with each other. So it does have an opportunity to have longevity
not
to it.
only Xfinity Live and Xfinity Mobile, Live Casino as well.
Yeah, that's also as well too. So it kind of all goes with that. I'm trying to find the exact date that they renamed the Wells Fargo Center, because the Flyers lost that Stanley Cup in 2010. That's when it got named to the Wells Fargo Center in 2010. But this name for the Xfinity Mobile is going to take over September 1st. So it was probably still the Wachovia Center when the Flyers lost to the
Johan
Blackhawks.
Rojas with a bunt to drive in another run. Shout
But
out
I
to
mean,
you.
at the end of the day, with the name being changed, it's not like we have a lot of Sixers and Flyers memories. I mean,
No,
the side of it, the Flyers played they played the Stanley Cup Finals there. Like it was probably the Wachovia Center was my prediction. I can't find the exact information because I looked at the rename date and it's just not telling me. It's just telling me like kind of the timeline date. So it was either the Wachovia or Wells Fargo. So it got a championship hockey couple games in there, but the Sixers never made it to the
it
NBA
has
Finals.
never the name Wells Fargo Center has never seen an NBA conference finals.
Yeah.
Although what it has seen, funny enough, is two Philadelphia Soul championships.
The funniest thing
Then
was off the top of my head, I was thinking about what's my favorite memory of the Wells Fargo. I went to the Wachovia Center growing up, but when it was named Wells Fargo, what's the number one memory that I have from Wells Fargo? And it's not even sports related. So I saw Kendrick Lamar and Travis Scott concert a couple years back when Travis Scott, it was like the last time Travis Scott was ever a co-headliner. It wasn't the
I
main
saw
act.
Sebastian Maniscalco at the Wells Fargo Center. I've never seen that many Italian Americans in one place before. And there's another base hit. Is that going to score a boom? It is. All right. Philly's now up 3-0.
But Sixers, I have a mocked Sixers trade. I think I took a screenshot of it. Let me see.
Who hit that? I wasn't even paying attention to who got that knock. Oh, that was Stotty.
All right, so we got a mock Sixers trade here. So this was an article from Sam Amico, who's somebody that I always pay attention to their work. But this was actually, he wrote this article, but this was a proposed trade from Tony Jones of The Athletic. So obviously, if you've been paying attention to the NBA playoffs, Giannis once again and the Bucks have been eliminated. Damian Lillard ended up tearing his Achilles, which is going to set their timeline back as the Bucks for significantly long period of time. Giannis has been hurt for quite some time, but for the past couple years, but he played in this series and it didn't work out. It seems like there's a possibility that Giannis could be looking to move on from the Bucks now, and he's talking about big markets such as New York, Miami, and Los Angeles. Philadelphia isn't on that level of market tier, but they're probably the next tier down. And how do you feel about this trade, Dante, for Giannis Antetokounmpo? Paul George, Jared McCain, 2025 first, 2028 first, 2029 pick swap, and 2030 first.
Do it.
So this means that you're potentially giving up a top 5 pick, or most likely giving up a top 5 pick, because the 2025 pick is...
It's Giannis. Yeah, I would do it. It's Giannis Antetokounmpo.
I heard people shut down giving up the 2025 pick if it involves Joel Embiid, but with Paul George, Jared McCain, and
I wouldn't give up both. I would not give up both this year's first round pick and Joel Embiid and all those future picks. I wouldn't do all that, but for what you just named, I would absolutely make that trade. Yeah, I mean, it's Giannis, you know?
Yeah, a lot of people think that Giannis wouldn't fit with Joel, but like, think
the
about
only thing is Giannis, he is still as good as he's always been. As there's another double that's going to play another 2 runs. I think that was Harper that hit that 6-0 Phils. Wow. I'll tell you what, man, we were talking about Phillies earlier. The one thing we forgot to mention, the general statement, is that they're starting to play much better baseball lately than what they were doing for a couple weeks. But anyway, with Giannis, he's still peak Giannis. This is still prime Giannis. There has been zero fall off in his game. Yet, the fact that he's in his early 30s now and has been in the league for so long, part of me is worried he will come here and suddenly stop playing like Giannis Antetokounmpo, because it seems to always happen anytime the Sixers obtain a star in their early 30s.
He's in the realm where it's past that pot. You
never count out the Sixers, man. Never count out the Sixers.
I mean, James Harden, does it like James Harden absolutely like goes lukewarm cold, like next level, doesn't show up, but there's also, he gave us 2 45-point playoff games to put us in position to be up and beat this Boston Celtics, kind of like he did back in the day versus the Warriors, and it just didn't work out when the Rockets in that game 7 like literally didn't make a single 3-pointer, which was like the craziest thing ever. But to me, he's past the territory of like even, flopping to that point. Like, he's too good of a player. The only thing that scares me a little bit,
think so. You would
only thing
think so.
Yeah, but Paul George, just think about on that opposite end of history that Paul George has always been on. And the funny part is, the first thing about this trade that I thought when I saw it was, it would be so funny to see Damian Lillard and Paul George as teammates after Paul George had that press conference saying that the Damian Lillard shot was not a good shot take and just, got a 48-point or a 40-foot game-winning series clinching shot put right into his face to end it. And then he goes into the press conference and says that it was a bad shot. But with the Sixers, I mean, like Paul George wise, he was the shot with Damian Lillard. He got traded for SGA and like 7 first-round picks, which ended up making the Thunder the number 1 seed in the West just years later. And then what did he really do for the Thunder when he moved on from the Thunder? So for Paul George, I mean, the writing was on the wall with that situation. They were very desperate. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that I didn't want them to sign him, but, at that age and the way that everything's looking right now, it's definitely not the best contract. And if the Sixers leave this offseason with Paul George still on the roster, like, people could say they want Joel Embiid to be traded, this, that, the other, you want to move on. The first order of business, which I love Joel, but I won't say that he needs to be here or not. I think the Sixers could benefit if they get the right package back, or they could benefit if he actually, can rehab and get back onto the court somehow. But the first order of business is getting out of that Paul George contract. That's the
Oh
first
yeah,
order
no,
of business.
you have to get out of it. And I think, like the difference between that contract and the Tobias contract is maybe you have a better chance of getting rid of the Paul George contract simply off of, name recognition, like, name notoriety, where it's like, Paul George has built up such a name for himself that he still has some value to himself. Whereas with Tobias, there was just no chance of getting rid of that
I think,
contract.
how okay, or not OKC, Golden State was really interested in him around the trade deadline
Yeah.
and in the summer. They were like really
Mhm.
interested in him. Jonathan Kuminga, who they drafted with like a top lottery pick a couple years back, who's still 22 years old and
Oh,
has
I
all
would easily make that trade. If you're talking
he's
about
like
trade, I've been a big fan of Kuminga ever since he's been in Golden State.
well, I know you said you weren't paying too much attention to the NBA playoffs.
I haven't been.
So in the 7-game series with the Rockets, how many minutes do you think he played?
The, I'm not sure if you're asking me because he barely played any minutes or because he played a lot of minutes. I'm gonna get so I'm
22-year-old
just
former
gonna go
lottery
with a
pick at
guess.
forward.
I'm just gonna go with a guess as somebody who has kind of tuned out from the NBA this year specifically, but I am going to go with a guess of I'm gonna say about 28 minutes per game.
43 total minutes with
Wow.
5 DNPs. 2 games he played and then didn't
Oh,
play for the
what?
rest of the series.
That's insane.
7
That's
minutes,
weird.
or actually he played game 7 for 7 minutes. Played 13 minutes versus the Timberwolves with Steph Curry hurt last night. So I mean, it kind of, the writing's on the wall with him. I forget if he's in the last year because I know they had disputes about the contract that they were trying to um, get him under because he's still on his rookie deal. Let me see real quick. But that would also, you would have to take on like another contract to make that happen. If I can pull up the NBA trade machine real quickly, because he's on like that he's on like that 6 million range for 4 years. So you'd have to get like somebody else's contract involved with that. But that would be, if I'm off the top of my head, I'm pinpointing a player that Paul George to a team that actually makes sense. That might be able to happen, but also I don't know if they're going to be able to and willing to pay into the luxury tax to have Draymond, Jimmy Butler, who they gave an extension to after they traded for Steph and him, contracts on the roster. But it's worth a shot of trying to get like one of those. That's like the territory I think they're in, like a former lottery pick that's on like a cheap deal, like try and maximize the talent and then find some expiring contracts that you can also match up with that to make things work. But yeah, the Paul George situation, it's just completely dulled out. There's no reason to even try and run this back, even though Daryl Morey said that that's what the plan is, to bring him and Joel back. I don't even know if I listen to Daryl Morey when he talks anymore, but the Sixers got to get this lottery pick. We're what, a week out? A week out? Not
Less
even
than that, I
5
believe.
days
I'm
out
pretty
from
sure the lottery's on the 12th.
yeah. So we might be doing a show on Elevation 5280 Sports page for that.
Yeah,
But
Monday. This upcoming Monday. Um, but
that's
yeah.
TNT, yeah, would be on TNT.
So
So, but yeah,
yeah, I'm
that's like
excited
the
for
biggest
that.
piece of news that we have to look forward to with the Sixers coming up. The NBA playoffs have been
Either
phenomenal. I
look
wish I could talk.
forward to or be devastated about because there's still a 40% chance we lose our
The
pick.
worst case scenario for the Sixers is they lose this pick and they run it back. That's worst case scenario. They lose
Yeah.
this pick and keep Paul George, and then
Oh
are
yeah.
still trying
That
to
would
figure
be
out the Joel Embiid
horrible. I
situation.
won't even I don't even know if I would watch next season.
Yeah, that would
But
be
hopefully,
absolutely
hopefully
abysmal.
they keep their pick. Hopefully they get a top 3 pick because I think as long as they're in the top 3, they'll be able to land Ace Bailey at the
I
very
think
least.
there's significant outside of the top 3. I think they're going to seriously look to trade that pick if it's outside of the top 3, which I don't know if is the smartest move to make because you're
Well,
never guaranteed to
they
draft this
have
high
a
again.
collective 30% chance of getting a top 3 pick because it's 10% for each pick 1, 2, and 3. So they have a 30% chance at the top 3. So it's a very real possibility. I really hope at the very least they can get that. Obviously, the dream is the number 1 pick, and you get the second white boy Cooper in the city. So
that'll have people fired up. If that doesn't happen and they lose the pick, I'm gonna DM Cooper DeJean on Instagram and be like, "Yo, I saw your high school basketball highlights. Do you think you could run like 22 minutes off the bench for the
yeah,
Sixers?"
he can be like our Deion Sanders, where he's playing 2 different sports in the city, holding it down. You know what I mean?
Speaking of Dion, we got to get to a little NFL talk before we get out of here. Just real quickly, Dallas Goedert signed back to the Eagles. They reworked his contract, $10 million, so he takes like a $4 million pay cut to come back to the Eagles. It's pretty evident that it was going to happen since they didn't draft a tight end with how loaded this draft class was. Grant Calcaterra is not up to par with being a starting tight end in the NFL, and they signed like a bunch of like B to C level guys outside of that too with Granson and Bryant. So they have a nucleus of tight ends. One of those guys that they signed in the summer is probably not going to make the team, I would assume, because I don't think they're going to carry 4 tight ends.
Yeah,
And none
I
of those
don't
guys
imagine.
are long snappers either.
And not only that, but now they want to start running the fullback position as well. So that's another.
Yeah, they specifically said they want to bring back fullback, and Ty Robinson, the Vanilla Gorilla, actually has a little bit of fullback in his repertoire.
What fullback do they currently have on the roster?
Ben Van Zumeren. What do you mean?
No, I thought they had. Well, Ben Van Zumeren was a guy who.
They had Blossomgame. That Kari Blossomgame for like the end of last year, but
is he
Ben Van Zumeren's the
still
guy
on the roster?
No,
I don't think he is.
No, Van Zumeren is like literally now has like completely transitioned from linebacker to fullback. He's like announced as a fullback.
I did not know that. All right.
So yeah, we get Dallas Goedert back. I was happy about that. I mean, like there was no reason like to cut ties with him for nothing would just make absolutely no sense. It would just create another hole. I still don't understand what they did with the CJ Gardner-Johnson move. Like that was, they could have just.
I saw somebody post on Twitter some of CJ Gardner-Johnson's worst reps of the season and said this is why Vic Fangio was okay with trading him. And looking back, it's like, first of all, you look at some of those reps. You look at the touchdown he gave up to Chris Olave. That was an egregious rep. That was horrible. But he gave up a lot of touchdowns on the season. There was a lot of good and bad with CJ Gardner-Johnson. I think now that time has faded a bit since trading him. I think you can look back and be like, okay, you know what? That's a guy I'm a little upset that we moved on.
I can pull tape of I'll pull tape of all 25 players that had played any significant snaps for the Eagles, and Jalen Carter, I could pull up 60% of plays of him looking like that as well.
Listen, the point is,
I'm not trying to defend him and act like Jalen Carter's like not as good as
I think
CJ.
Makuba can be even better.
But like you pull any player.
I think Makuba can be even better. I'm not going to be too upset about the loss of CJ Gardner-Johnson. I am a little upset, but I'm not going to be too upset. We'll be fine. We'll live on.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's probably the position they put the least amount of stock into. I mean, they had it held down by Brian Dawkins for however long. They had Malcolm Jenkins come in as a free agent and make a huge impact for them. So they've had some very notable safeties in their organization, but to go out and get those guys, they really don't add too many resources or put too many resources into doing that. I just like the trade, like just doesn't, they got 3 guys in the. I think Drew Kendall has a chance to be off the bat better than Kenyon Green already is in the NFL. So it's just like it doesn't really, that trade didn't satisfy me enough. Like if you wanted to go out and like I would have a player for player trade, I wanted to get somebody that actually could make an impact. Like maybe like a higher level tight end too or something like that. You know what I mean? Not just somebody that there's a good chance that he doesn't even play.
I like Grant as tight end too.
But other Eagles talk that we had. So they gave up their rookie numbers. So let's pull those up real quickly. Jahad Campbell, the most notable rookie.
30. I don't like that. I don't like 30 on an edge rusher. I'm not.
Yeah, but you know what hold on real quick.
Yeah, and then I saw some people saying, "Oh, he's not an edge rusher; he's an off-ball linebacker," which is just
Now,
incorrect.
you haven't heard
But
yet that
either
people
way,
are fired
30
up.
is bad for a linebacker too. 30 is a running
No,
back
but you know
number and
what gets
only
me
a running
fired
back
up?
number.
Remember the viral play of him drilling Jackson Dart
Yeah.
in the middle of the field? He wore two different numbers at Alabama. That play, when he hit Jackson Dart, he was wearing number 30.
Well, I saw this online today, and I'm not sure if it was a fake post or not, but I saw that Travis Hunter is going to be wearing two different jersey numbers and swapping them when he
Yeah,
plays
that's
offense and defense.
unbelievably
There's
fake.
no way that's real. If
Unbelievably
it
fake.
is,
They do
that's
that in
insane.
college. They do that in college because they have more than 100 players, so they have to switch the numbers. They can't have two special teams guys wearing the same number on the field. So in college, they'll have like a player throw another jersey on top of the jersey he's already wearing,
Yeah, I've seen
and then
that.
do
I
that.
have seen that.
I feel like that kind of restricts you in a little bit.
It would
Like
have to.
it's funny
It
because I
must.
saw Jalen Ramsey wears like the Eli Manning sleeves, and Jalen Ramsey at Florida State was doing it, and he wears like the Eli Manning sleeves now. So I thought that was funny. But talking around the division too with the Eagles, yeah, specifically if we're going to talk about the rookie numbers, it doesn't really matter besides Jahad Campbell because the only uproar that I saw was about 30. Was about him being 30. Nobody else
What's
really
McCougal
reacted.
wearing again? 23?
24.
24. Yeah, that's a good number. I like that
He's trying
number.
to live
That's a
up to the
good
James
number.
Bradbury billing. That's his boy. So no, I'm joking about that. But talking about jersey numbers around the league and looking at the division, we kind of had a little controversy recently with Abdul Carter. He originally asked Lawrence Taylor to see if he could wear number 56 for the Giants, which is kind of, do you think that's an overstep? The greatest defensive player of all time?
Absolutely. Absolutely it is. It's Lawrence Taylor. You haven't proven anything
Jalen
yet.
Carter was the number one prospect going into that draft, and we got him at pick 9, trading up from pick 10. But he's coming in with pedigree, being most likely the number one guy on everybody's boards outside of character. If Jalen Carter would have came in and asked for 92 off the bat, or 99, 92 specifically, how would you feel?
That's
And
insane.
Reggie White can't defend himself either.
Yeah, not only that, Reggie White, that's you're trying to take the number of a dead man. That's even worse.
Or Jerome
Um,
Brown would be the same too because he died as a player.
yeah,
So
but Jerome Brown wasn't quite Reggie White. Either way, it's either one would be disrespectful. I don't think players should be asking to wear retired numbers. Retired numbers are retired for a reason. Who the hell do you think you are to be like, I'm gonna play so
Well, do
well
you
for
think
this
do you
team
think he?
that
I forget the
I should
player
be
that.
wearing the number of this legend that was on the team because I should stack myself up alongside of them. You have to earn the right to even be compared to them,
I
let
know this
alone wear
player.
their
I
number.
know
That's so
this player
stupid.
isn't on that level. I forget who it is, but remember Malik Neighbors was wearing what, number 9, and then he asked the Giants legend that used to wear number 1 to wear the jersey, and he got the blessing from him. So Malik Neighbors in the same organization as a top draft pick last year did that. So I don't know if that had
Yeah,
influence
it
onto
seems to
Abdul
be a new
Carter.
trend. I forget what other rookie got the blessing of retired player to wear their number after the draft. That
Well, that
just
was
occurred.
CD. That CD was the same way. I mean, the
Well,
Cowboys.
88's been worn by a bunch of guys in Dallas, but no, there was somebody who got drafted this year, and then the number that they're gonna wear now was retired, but whoever it was granted them permission. I forget who it was, but I remember seeing that. So I guess it's more of like a recent trend. But no, 88 was never actually retired in Dallas. But
Well, I
yeah, I
think
don't know.
it has like you can't like you not just asking for 88, you have to be given it. So it's pretty much the same scenario of being given the number.
But I don't think retired numbers should ever be given. It's retired for a reason. If
Well,
we're giving
how
them
do you
to
feel about
people,
now?
what's
We
the
haven't even
point of retiring it?
well, we haven't given the second part of this conversation. So after that happened with LT, Phil Simms steps up in the media and says, "I'll let you wear number 11 if you want to wear number 11." And then Phil Simms' family behind the scenes says, no, we're not allowing that. And then Phil Simms comes out publicly again and backtracks his statement saying that Abdul Carter can't wear number 11 now. So this
You know,
dude overstepped and then got humbled real quickly. But it seems like Phil Simms is completely in the wrong for that, for even mentioning that, and then it getting shut
I
down
don't even like
internally.
talking about it. I think this is all just stupidity. This is all stupid, all of it.
It is. It's just a
Retired
jersey
numbers
number, but
being brought
there's
back
certain
out.
numbers
It's
that don't even get.
stupid.
It's crazy. When was the last time Jahan Dotson last year was wearing in the 80s, right? 83. He just switched his number to number 2 when Darius Slay left the roster.
I think that's a dumb number for a wide receiver. And then Keeley Ringo, what did he switch his number to? He switched it to something stupid.
7.
I don't like that. I don't like that either. I thought 22 was a great number.
Yeah,
That was
I'm like an
7.
OG. Like I
Jahan
like it. Like
Dotson is
college is
number
cool, but
2.
I think the wide receivers now like in the teens, like 10 through 19 looks good on a wide receiver. The single digits, depending on the player, looks good too. Like Devontae looks good in 6 and stuff, but some people kind of go over the top with it. Like we had like edge rushers wearing single digits and stuff. I don't like it all. Like seeing this
I
gigantic,
don't mind the
massive
edge
boot.
rusher wearing single digits. I don't mind that. I also don't like Kyle McCord's number. He picked number 19. I don't
19,
like
yeah,
that.
that's kind of weird.
I don't like that for a quarterback. I don't like that.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I feel like the Eagles, we're right around the corner from them making some more moves. They kind of just figured out. I think they have like around 25 million. After this, they have to allocate some of that to the draft picks, but after the Dallas Goedert situation plays out, they have around 25 million. Like I said, have some of that set aside for draft picks. But this is like that second or third wave of free agents, and we've seen the Eagles add talent like a James Bradbury late in an offseason, or a CJ Gardner-Johnson, or trade Carson Wentz for a first-round pick, or trade Sam Bradford for a first-round pick right around the time to make room for Carson Wentz. So Howie, I feel like even though the draft just ended and people are starting to get into their workouts and have most of the roster set for now, I feel like that's not the case for the Eagles.
Yeah, Howie usually makes some late in the season moves. I think of some of the more significant ones. The trade for Ronald Darby during the preseason of 2017. That
Yeah,
same
that was a third-round pick
offseason.
in Jordan Matthews, right?
Yeah, during that same offseason, it was a pretty late signing when he went out and got LeGarrette Blount. He traded for DeAndre Swift during the draft. There's some other moves that I would have to think more
Yeah,
about,
now with
but
the compensatory pick situation out of the window, I feel this is now where, you're not going to be held to that, so you can go out and get some guys, and there's still some veteran guys. So I, uh, I feel good about a lot of the position groups on the team. I mean, maybe safety they could add a little bit too, since they did in the draft. Tight end is now resolved. Offensive line, they have a bunch of prospects and 4 of the best offensive linemen around them in the entire league to learn from. Skill position wise, like we could, always nitpick at the third wide receiver, but at the end of the day, they have 2 of the best wide receivers in the league. I actually looked it up since 2021 when Devontae Smith was drafted. The only 2 teams to have receivers go for, I'm going to see how I can word this correctly because I haven't thought about it before I was about to say it. So the Bengals and the Eagles are the only 2 teams that have 2 wide receivers with over 1,100-yard games since 2021. So obviously AJ and Devontae Smith and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. And AJ Brown actually has more 100-yard gains since then than Jamar Chase. And AJ's missed a lot of time due to injury. So I thought that was an interesting stat. But yeah, it just shows you how quickly the Eagles, wide receiver position wasn't held down forever. Spent 2 first-round draft picks to upgrade the position, and even a little bit more to get Devontae, and to get AJ too, a little bit more on top of the first-round picks that they spent to go get those guys. And look,
well, technically not with Devontae because they traded back and then they traded up. So I would say technically not really,
yeah, I
but
guess it evens
I
out a
get what
little
you
bit.
mean.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
like the chess piece moves that Howie like always, 5th-round pick to move up 1 spot. I thought was a very smart move to get the guy. If you have a guy on your board in the draft that you completely target and pinpoint and have a bullseye on, there's no room for you to go wait and then have that player picked and then just
Yeah,
roam.
because the thing with that, and then I probably got to head out of here. But the thing with that is, like, let's say you're on the opposite side of the argument. You say, oh, it's not worth a fifth round pick to move up one spot to get Jahad Campbell. But let's say hypothetically they don't do that and somebody leapfrogs us, somebody else trades with the Chiefs and they take Jahad Campbell, right? And then we hold on to that fifth round pick. And that fifth round pick ends up being somebody who is on the preseason roster for a couple of years, doesn't really end up playing any snaps in the NFL, which is a extremely real possibility when you're talking about a fifth round pick. And now you don't have Jahad Campbell. So it's like you didn't go up and get the guy you really wanted. You had to sell for somebody who ends up not being as good, doesn't have the career that Jahad Campbell has. And the whole reason you've opted for this guy instead of Jahad Campbell is because you wanted to keep that fifth round pick who didn't even end up playing any real snaps in the NFL. That is such a real possibility if you don't do it. So yeah,
It's just
it's
interesting to think about it because
liberating.
last year Howie specifically said that he sat and waited for Quignon to drop to him, but he was aggressive in moving up for Cooper when Cooper was sitting in the second round. So I've raised the question, did they actually like Cooper more than Quignon, but knew Quignon would go before Cooper and they took him and then just waited to see what happened with Cooper? Or the board just fell perfectly to them. They had both of them rated
I
really
think
high. They're
it's
always going to
I think
draft
it's kind of
Quignon before
it could
Cooper.
have kind of been a situation where they liked Quignon, let's say a little bit more than Cooper, right? But they also really liked a lot of other options in the first round as well. So they would have been okay with them missing
With
out
Quignon
on
getting picked and then
Quignon.
being able to have Cooper as their cornerback, like consolation prize, like in the second round, moving up and then
Yeah,
getting to pick
but
the
then
first round.
you're looking at the second round as like if we can't get Cooper this round, there isn't really anybody else on the board that we like. So let's go up and get him. So it
It could have
kind of
easily
also
played out to
depends
where
on.
the Eagles traded out of that pick and moved back and then drafted Cooper like in the mid 30s or like in the back end of the 20s and then lost out on Quignon, which would have been crazy to think about where this team would be if that was the circumstances now. Because all the talk between people now is where they think the biggest opportunity for somebody to gain a starting spot besides safety on the roster is the outside corner next to Quignon Mitchell because Coop's going to stay at nickel. But when they're in two cornerback packages like base defense, which they're rarely in ever, Coop will probably be outside for that, but then they'll have inside. But Makuba, at the end of the day, if they could find a really good safety, there's talk about Justin Simmons. I don't want to bring Justin Simmons to Philly, honestly. I'm
I
not
don't want to
interested in
either.
coaching him.
I want to see what we can get from Makuba.
But
And
if
then
for
even
some,
if it
you know
doesn't
how
work out
high I
with
am on
him, I
Keelan
like
Ringo.
Sidney Brown.
Yeah,
So
you know
I
how
don't think
high I
we're
am
going
on
to take.
Keelan Ringo specifically, but if for whatever reason they think Coop needs to go outside, and then Makuba is a nickel and a safety. So if he's too small to play safety at 185, they put him in the nickel and then find a different option at safety that can also work as well. So we'll see how it all plays out, but it's interesting to, especially with like the openness of the Eagles, like trying guys out at different positions and stuff. They have so many guys that are like hybrid that played multiple positions that are just talented players that is interesting to see how it's all going to work out. But that'll do it for the Paisan Sports Podcast, episode 97. We are approaching episode 100. We only got 2 more episodes before episode 100. So crazy time we're approaching. It's been a blast for these first 97 episodes. And yeah, we'll sit back and wait for some news. We'll let everybody know if we're going to be doing that live show. Most likely we will, even if Dante or I can't do it. I'll most likely be able to find a way to do it. We'll be doing that live lottery draft show on the Elevation 5280 Sports page. So stay tuned for that next Monday. That's the biggest thing we're waiting on at Philadelphia Sports. We'll have another week of Phillies, maybe possibly some Eagles moves, but the Sixers. It's crazy that the Sixers are number one on the totem pole of interesting stuff in Philadelphia sports as we approach the beginning of next week. But for What's the Deal Sports, Zach Deal and Dante signing off episode 97.